Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Man podcast. My name's Rory Paquette. You guys all know that already, but I just really like saying that so that I remind myself of how blessed I am to be sitting in this seat. Folks, when we made the move to 5 days a week, you folks just turned out like crazy. When we recently made the move to seven, you guys sent me a whole bunch of DMs and, were in favor of it. And boy, you sure turned out this past week. So appreciate you folks endlessly grateful as always for everything that you're doing for us. If you're not out there doing what you're doing, I don't get to sit here doing what I'm doing. So I really am grateful. And if you're a friend of the program, and I know that you are, then you know we need to pay a couple of bills real quick. So let me just take a sip of my preferred beverage. Man, that's good. You guys all know what we're drinking. That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Go check them out. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. They brew a mean bean. It's a fantastic cup of joe. And they do all the right things for all the right reasons. And they support veterans, which you guys all know is of the utmost importance here at the Power of Man podcast. To all you veterans out there, thank you for your service. We love you all. Folks, go check them out. Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. And I'm going to have one more sip of this so I can keep up with this guy that's across the table from me. We have an incredible, incredible guest today. I am honored that he decided to come on our program. I had a chance to talk to this gentleman on one of my other podcasts, but today is going to be a lot different. We get to actually find out about him, about his life, and that kind of thing. It's going to be really cool. So I'm looking forward to it. He is, one of the top podcasters around. He's got six of them, which we'll talk about briefly and get you guys going. He's amazing. So please welcome to the program, Roy Coughlan. How you doing, Roy?
I'm doing very well, Rory. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you being here today, brother. As we get going, and we have a ton that we get to talk about today, and I'm excited that you came on this program. So thank you for being here. But give everybody a little bit of an idea. Who is Roy? What are you about? What brings you here today, man?
Well, constantly evolving, I would say, so never getting complacent. I'm Irish. I'm from Cork in Ireland, which is the second biggest city. Studied construction, economics, and management. And then at 20, because I finished college at 20, so then I started working for two contractors, one mechanical contractor, one mechanical and electrical. I was a contracts manager, worked my way up to contracts manager. They're the biggest mechanical contractor in Ireland. And then I went for as regional manager for another company, 13 years, I think, and then moved to Poland. So I'm 18 years in Poland. I'm in a place called Łódź, which is right in the center. Originally, kind of started doing real estate, done a load of real estate, got whacked out of that, which a lot of people do in real estate. But I've done loads. I've had 20 companies. I've done a lot of different things, and it kind of makes me feel not to fear anything. I've kind of learned that it's all about people. And even if I don't know about something, I can read 20 books. I can read 10 books. I can listen to loads of podcasts and learn about something and can even hire people to do the stuff. So very open. I've got a business doing virtual assistants, VA.World. As you mentioned, all the podcasting coaching, braingym.fitness as well, another business that I'm partnered with. And just constantly kind of, if you check my site, my website is like next year could be totally different. You don't know. It's just kind of, if something's not serving me, it's like I don't hold on to it. So the things I do are the things I love.
I love that. And we even touched on it briefly in the pre-interview. You are just so open to, hey, if this isn't working, you're not someone who goes, well, I put all this work into it, so I gotta, see it through and hang on to it. If it's not working, you're like, bye, clip, see ya. And that's a unique trait for pretty much anybody to have. Where does that come from?
I was always an entrepreneur. So from like 9, I was out washing cars and, delivering leaflets. And then at 11, I got a newspaper round and I was doing that up to college. And with the money from that, when I was 14, I bought a lawnmower. So then I was going around cutting grass. And I was always kind of doing stuff. And then kind of like I started working in a bar when I was 17 and I was like cleaning the glasses at one stage, changing the barrels and things like that. And the money, it was like in Irish money, it was a pound. So Irish money is similar to English. It was always a bit less. You're getting a pound an hour and I asked to get 150. They wouldn't give to me. So I just kind of left. And when I was working for the first mechanical contracting company, I don't know, about 5 years in or something, I set up a website design company with another guy and we started getting it. But it got to the stage where nearly everyone then started doing it, and it didn't really make sense to be spent. It wasn't making the money and just kind of said, all right, let's walk away from this. And that was okay. There was no kind of, we weren't crying. It was kind of, yeah, we made some money when we got in at the right time and then just kind of said, okay, let's get out of it. And I think even with, say, the real estate and stuff, when things fall down, yeah, it's not that it doesn't hurt, but it's a case of you can't hold on to it or live in the past, which a lot of people unfortunately do. They kind of look at where they were and forget about there's no point in looking in the rearview mirror. I'm not going in that direction. I'm going forward and just kind of, yeah, just forget about it and, brush off whatever happened and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, that's just a unique trait. And then you touched on something just now too that also is worth noting. When people hear about you having success and they hear that, you've got top five podcasts and that you're doing really well. Then they hear, advice and things like that. And people tend to, at least here in the United States, we get a lot of this. Well, yeah, you're doing well. It's easy for you to say, so on and so forth. And they kind of figure, you don't really know what they're going through. But you've actually been on both sides of this. You've been to the peak. You've also, crashed like a lot of us have, and you've been very open about that and just said, hey, this is what happened. Tell everybody a little bit briefly about just kind of maybe a little bit about what you've been through and kind of set the stage
Yeah,
because you do know what it's
yeah.
like to have to struggle and work your way through stuff.
Absolutely. And also sometimes people get a golden spoon, they grow up and their parents are extremely rich and everything. We weren't. We grew up in council housing, and didn't have a car and basically my mother made me go to a way better school. I have one brother, he's 2 years older, but we went to a school that was like 40 minutes walk when there was three other schools nearby, a lot closer. And she made sure, like, so the actual leader of our country went to the same school as that we went to. And
Ah,
it was hard because like it was kind of I wasn't really meant to be there, but my mother knew this is a better place for us. But I grew up in a place where like there was lots of joyriding, people, lots of fights, loads of fights in my life. Sometimes you talk to people they never had a fight in their lives. I lost count of the amount of fights. So I didn't have a silver spoon, just kind of built it up as I went along. When I was in Poland, I kind of started. What happened is I was dating a Polish girl. That's how I ended up in Poland. And I saw an opportunity because I was after buying a few properties in Ireland, went to Poland, went, oh, there's cheap here. So I got a few things. And then I said, set up a company here for foreign buyers. Because at the time, everyone was kind of buying anything because it was just the way the market was.
yeah.
And the relationship kind of ended. So I was after buying, I released equity in my Irish properties to buy a commercial site with a few others, a development to do 30 apartments with a few people. And it was going well. It was going very well for me because we got originally it was for Irish clients, but then I got English and American, and I was I renovated probably 200 properties and was managing over 200 properties. I had about 14 people, including like three security staff on the commercial and a cleaner. But like I was doing well, and then the crash kind of happened, and it took a while to come across the pond. And the people that I was in syndicates with, I was the small boy. Like some of them were worth big money, like they were 10, 20 million. And I thought it would come right. So I started putting more money into, say, the commercial, for the mortgage that we had on it, thinking that, look, this is just a hiccup. And I said, look, I'll charge you 10% interest a year, or else I increase my share. I was being fair with them. And it didn't come right. They started losing everything. They got wiped out. And eventually I started running out of funds, went to the bank and I said, hey, look, I need interest only on the commercial. I split it in three. Nah, the minute I missed payment, they had the syndicate coming in and they destroyed the property, like the way that they worked it. And then the other stuff, everything that I lost, the whole lot, including my three Irish properties and my personal belongings. But the worst thing was usually when you have a limited liability company, it's kind of like, like I said earlier, brush yourself and just move on.
Right.
This wasn't the case because I was the president of a lot of companies, and in Poland, you're personally liable. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
personally liable. So instead of making about 5 million, I was actually personally liable for $5 million. I'm talking, it was a Polish zloty, but it was equivalent to about $5 million. And just through that
Holy
saw so
cow.
much corruption and everything, and like with bailiffs and the whole lot. And I kind of, it took a while to get over it and clear the decks, but that kind of inspired me then to do what I'm doing, say with the awakening, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. Because I was like, hey, this isn't right what you're doing. Like one company, they basically bribed the people in the room. We had four houses that we'd built, and I was told, don't go. Somebody had tipped me off, don't go. And I had two people that were there. They got bribed and they had their own cronies by it. The commercial property was in cahoots with the valuer. And basically, in dollar terms, it was worth about 1.25 million, and they valued it at 500,000. And the valuation, usually a valuation doesn't put a property down, it's just stating what it is.
Yeah.
And it was basically saying how bad it was and everything. So what the way the auctions work is like 75% for the first auction and 50% for the second. So they were trying, and then they do a sale as if it's out for auction, but they have it put it up for about a second. That they have a screenshot of it and they remove it so nobody turns up, nobody knows about it.
Oh,
And then the
geez.
same thing, they get their cronies to come in. So they would have got a £1.25 million property for 250,000. And what happened is somebody that it's a strange how things just kind of come together. A guy was interested in the houses, so he's the guy that told me not to go. And usually, when you're going through losing everything, you kind of just don't want to know anything. This guy rang me. He said, "Look, I'm interested in. Have you any details on the plans and all the different things?" And I was like, "All right." So he came out, and I met him, and he had went through something similar with. He had a jewelry business, and he had a lot of commercial property where he had a jewelry shop inside him,
Mhm.
and he was just giving me so much advice. And in the end, he ended up buying the commercial. And I got nothing out of it, but he took it with the debt. He was able to wipe away the debt. And that was like over 500,000 or more at that stage with that one. And he's the one that said, don't go to the other place. So it was not the solicitors, not the accountants that gave me advice. It was an entrepreneur that kind of gave me some tips on not what to do.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, j you unpacked so much right there, brother. I mean, it's just like it explains so much that I already know about you, and things that, why you have, one of your podcasts, the, uh, I, awakening,
Yeah.
and why this is why you, sort of, rage against the machine, so to speak, and sort of, are always questioning what's going on and what you're being told and what government's doing behind everybody's back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
even
it.
I was actually upset with Rage Against the Machine because even they did things because that was a band that I would listen to when I was younger. Like so it's amazing how things you would think Rage Against the Machine would be the rebels and they weren't because when they had a concert they were insisting that people had I call it the boys in dark, but you wouldn't think like Rage Against the Machine would be doing something like that.
Right. Oh man. Well, I guess I chose the wrong phrase there too. But all right. See, you know stuff about stuff that people don't even know is stuff, and I love that. That's just it's awesome. Okay, so let's talk briefly. Let everybody know. I mean, tell everybody kind of what you do now, so that we can kind of back into how it all started and where you came from. What is it you're doing now? What are your podcasts? That type of thing.
Yeah, so I suppose I go through the podcast. Speaking was the first one, so since 2018 I'm doing that. And it was basically that I overcame a fear of public speaking and just a fear of just really terrified speaking. I was so shy that basically when I was 18, if I go to the bar, I was giving my friend the money, I wouldn't go up for a round. I was just really shy.
Wow.
And
Okay.
even when I was running big jobs in Ireland, it was the time I hated it. Like the voice was kind of, like Mr. Bean kind of going really bad. Like so I was about 45 when I kind of, it was I came back from an event when I decided I'm going to expose the fraud and corruption, but I said I need to learn how to speak. So when I came back, I joined the Toastmasters and then I joined another one, formed my own entrepreneurs club and then became a coach. But I became DTM, which is Distinguished Toastmasters, kind of like the top rank within 3 years, which is kind of very rare for somebody to do it that fast. I started entering all the competitions, got into the final of 5 countries and done an open mic TEDx open comedy. So I went from one extreme to the
Yeah.
other, and I've done over 1,600 podcasts. But my first one, it was always about the awakening. But I said, I know I'm going to be attacked for this. So I said, speaking would be good because I know a lot of people from Europe because I would have went to Athens and Czech and different places doing speaking that I met so many people. I said they can be guests on my show. That was the first one. The next one then was the meditation. Through my journey, kind of meditation, breath work helped me. And there was ones that I listened to that was one was the 5 or 6 phase meditation, and I liked it. And then I created my own one in my head, and there was different ones, and then they disappeared or they became paid. So that's why I said there's always going to be a meditation for people that's free. And I've got breath works, I've got healing meditations, I've got from minute meditations from 1 minute to 2 hours. and even talk conversations as well, talking about chakras, yoga, different things. But it's
Yeah.
just kind of find something that finds calm in you, and that was the purpose of that one.
Very
Next
cool.
one was the the learn Polish. So my it actually ex-wife, I did it with my ex-wife, which is rare to do a podcast with your ex-wife, but she was my
Yes, it
Polish
is.
teacher. That's how I met her. So she became my teacher. Then I married her. Didn't work out, but we basically I wanted to kind of support her school, and we created this. And it's kind of like don't wing it. Kind of, I never thought it'd be that popular. I had a crappy graphic. I just set up a camera, took a picture of the two of us, and it's actually, I have a screenshot of when we were ahead of BBC, ahead of Duolingo and everything. It was like number one in a lot of countries. I just, it's just recently just passed 3 million in both between audio and, and video. Like, you know,
Congratulations.
an Irish guy teaching people Polish, like, but yeah. So that was that one. Then there was my passion project, The Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. And
Yeah.
I've had a lot of famous people. I've had Mickey Willis. I don't know if you're familiar with Mickey Willis. He did a guy that did Pandemic. I did David
Yeah.
Icke, Dr. Peter McCullough, a lot of famous people on it. And I just enjoy it. And I've kind of changed my life based on information I've learned. Right? And I say to everybody, don't believe everything you hear. Go away and just let it open the box and kind of start thinking, that's interesting. And then delve deeper. But based on the guests that I got on that, it's helped me a lot. The next one was the crypto. So I could see that there was a load of fraud and corruption in blockchain. And I didn't want to put it into the awakening because I said, not everyone's into blockchain and I might hurt my listeners. So I created this one and it was just kind of me very curious, not deep into it, not really understanding it. Got a lot of books and thought I'm bamboozled, don't really get this that much. And through that, then, you know, it's kind of had really interesting conversations. And yeah, it's another one that has kind of helped me. I've learned an awful lot from the guests that come on. And finally is the Podfather. This is one that's helping existing podcasters or those thinking of starting because I don't like CNN, I don't like BBC or RTE in Ireland, all these mainstream who regurgitate lies. I want them to be listening to podcasts who will go deeper and give the truth. Well, not all of them give the truth, so that's why I say be curious about what you're being, but they're not all, following the narrative. So that was the purpose, so that people, because sometimes people do 3 shows and they're gone, or 10 shows and they're gone. I don't want them to be gone. I want them, even if they're only helping 10 or 20 people. Once you help one person, it's worth doing it. So that's why that's my passion in that one.
Love it. Love it. And nobody could have gone over all of your podcasts that fast and that thoroughly than you, brother. So, I'm glad I didn't try. I just turned it over to you and said, yeah, go ahead and tell everybody. So I appreciate you huge for all that. The awakening is one that you and I have talked about a lot, and I know we're going to get more into that. I didn't ask you this question, however, last time, and I know you brought it up a couple times this time. Your crash that happened with your real estate, and I've been through a real estate crash myself, so I understand 100%. And the we both talk about it now as if it's just dollars and cents and it's just something that happened because we've had to like handle it, deal with it, get over it, and we've moved on. You know what I mean? And we can't just sit there and dwell on it. But what doesn't really go away, and we don't talk about very often, is the toll that that sort of thing takes on you and on your family, and on that type of thing. I know that you mentioned you have an ex-wife. Did that did those two things kind of coincide, or was it an ex-wife, that had nothing to do with the crash part of it?
I got married in, I think, 2013, and within a year and a half around that, we were kind of finished. So, but I have a beautiful child with her, so I've got the best gift from her. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, I was doing well, and then things kind of started drying up, and then I went in trouble. And then I've had over 100 court cases, and no matter how well you're prepared, and it just sucks the energy out of you. And not only that, but I was in the High Court in Ireland, and I even had a criminal case taken against me here. They tried to give me 3 years for a fraud again. Thankfully, I kind of won that case, but you're just going through all these different things. And I suppose you're not the same person as well. that, when you're going through that. So and I'm not claiming that she was all the fault.
Right.
Both sides, didn't bring their A game to the table. And unfortunately, yeah, we finished. And at the start, it wasn't messy, but now I look at other people and I realize, like, we don't argue. She collected my son there no today at 10 in the morning. It's 1 p.m. here, just gone 1 p.m. And I had him all the weekend. I've equal custody. And if somebody's taking them on a holiday or we want to make changes, there's never a problem. It's like, grand, I want to go to the mountains with him, grand, no problem. Let's hope he enjoys it and when he
Right.
wants to. And I think that's the most important thing. Whereas I see so many people and it's like they're using a pawn and they're just trying to better each other without thinking of the best for the child. And once you've got the child's best interest at heart, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I no, I couldn't have said it better. The rules are different over there with you folks and you're in Poland. This is where your marriage was and where all the rules you have to follow with your marriage. Yes. Okay. All right. And you're breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me still?
So, what I can hear you. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. Looks like we came back. Sorry about
yeah.
that.
So you were on about the rules in Poland. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So the rules in Poland, like what happened is when we went through the divorce, it took about a year, and I think it was the best thing ever because it was nasty at the start. It was like I wasn't allowed to see the child. I could only see him for a few hours, and not take him overnight and stuff like that. And that wasn't good for me. And but I was every day going there as much as I just kind of. And by the time the year came around, it had totally changed. And she didn't even have a solicitor. I brought my solicitor to just kind of, and I said to her, look, it's just to understand the legal framework, the way the judge is talking, everything, because we don't want to be. And we agreed before we went in the way we were going to do it. We're going exactly what way we were doing it. So we went in, and even the judge said she's never seen anything so amicable during uh, the case. And that's the way it should be. We see someone everything does just. Is there even like I've heard of somebody recently, and they're bringing even the child. They have a child that's like something like 11 into the court, and they're interviewing. That's trauma. Like no child should ever have to do that. And like, I mean, it obviously you get one person that's just so nasty, but they should think of a different system than bringing a child in. You can always just have a normal person just kind of go and talk to the child and just do it, but record it, not to bring a child into a courtroom. Like, and they have a special room that they brought the child in, but that scares me when somebody's doing that. And I see so many cases. You see people, they're just so nasty. And unfortunately, it's all for the man, the woman. Like the man is like, yeah, and the thing is, if you look at the statistics, it's the children that are brought up by just a woman have more problems. They need a man in their life. And I'm not saying every man is good because I've seen some terrible fathers
Sure.
as well. I mean, a lot of the times they get their child, they go into the pub and they have their pub and they're giving the child, crisps and coke and they think that's their day out. You have to you have to spend time with your child and do things with your child. So both people kind of play a game. And I think just come from a place of love. Never like one thing that I don't do, like a lot of people, they're just negative and bashing the other person. And I know I get that. When there's hurt there, yeah, that's we all do that. But it's like you're not serving nobody because if you're doing that, you're only kind of spiraling the situation, creating more anger. So what you can do is start looking at the things you do like. So, okay, she's doing this, she's taking the child swimming every week, and just concentrate on the positive, and then you'll have more empathy, and you're not going to be angry, and it's the child sees it then, like, because you hear some people they're bad mouthing the mother or the father to the child. Child should never hear that,
Right.
never, but people do it. So you, as an adult, either sex have to take responsibility. Accept it that she fell out, but also look back and go, something was there at one stage that she totally loved each other and that she managed to go together and you created life. So just try to go back as well and think, okay, we had respect for each other at one stage and just try to work it out for the child because every time there's so much fighting, it really hurts the child. And then the child has trauma going through life and then has to get therapy. And sometimes they never resolve it. So it's like, just serve the child. Serve the child. You created a child, so make sure that you give it the best life that you can. And it comes back to you. Like, I mean, I love being with my son. Like, I know the other day, no, I was 2.5 hours he had me playing football. We got a ping pong table. So we got one of these 4-in-1s, which a small kind of thing with pool, foot, some people call it foosball, the table football thing, and ping
Yeah.
pong. And it was a small ping pong table, and he started liking that. So then I've got it's like a three-quarter size ping pong table, and we just play that, or we play pool and badminton. Now. So whereas when I'm with him, and I'm doing things, or we're playing Uno and card games and stuff like that, and I'm trying to develop him. Whereas a lot of times people, they just give him the iPad or the phone, just yeah, as long as they're happy and quiet, I'm happy. But it's like, you know, you have to keep him away from the digital products. I'm not saying that he's not on them. Of course he is. Like everyone's on him now.
Right.
But he doesn't want to be looking at his phone. If we're out playing for 2 hours playing football, or we're going for a cycle, or we're going for a walk, or doing something, or going to the cinema. And make sure you don't have to be spending a fortune. That's what I mean. Like you can play ping pong, you can play football. Football doesn't cost that much, but just do things with them
Yeah.
and that way, then your child is bonding with you. You have like a fantastic love that is there. Instead of thinking, oh, we get on grand. Like even my son would say to me, he'd call to say a friend in his mom's area, and he said, "It's weird." He said, "My friend is on his device, his younger brother's on his device, and his two parents are on the device, and he doesn't want to come out and play." And there's a lot of families like that. And it's like, don't be that family either. Because it's simple. It's yeah, yeah, it's quiet, peace and quiet. But what you want to do. Like, I mean, I read a lot. I read 100 books. At one stage I said to my son, I want you to do the same. So I bought a load of books from him. They were smaller, obviously, they're English, but they really improved his English because he's Polish, but his English, he gets tops marks in English. And it's like I just make him to read the books and he enjoys it and just do things like that. And small little things will make a massive difference in the child's life.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that sounds so simple. You know, make it all about the child. Take care of the child. Everything's going to work out. And yet we complicate it so badly. So I love everything you had to say there. I'm curious about your agreement, your court system, the process, all that kind of thing. When you folks go in for a divorce in Poland, is it assumed um, shared custody? Is something you have to fight for? What's the
You've to,
default? Like, what does a dad get versus what does he have to fight for?
I think, unfortunately, when you have a court case, it's like you have to kind of fight for your rights, which is sad when you think of it. Even when you look at how society is working, I have to go and ask permission to marry somebody from strangers. And then when I want to end that marriage, I have to go and get permission, and they decide then if we're allowed, and then they decide if who gets the child and for how long. So when you look at it that way, what I actually encourage people before they even have a child, if you're thinking you have a child, write it out then. Both have a copy of it and put it in a safe place. Because when you're in love, you'll agree to anything. And the nastiness then, it doesn't matter. You say, okay, if we have a child and it doesn't work out, what are we going to do? Are we going to have a week on, week off? Just, and everyone will say calmly the way you would logically say it. Instead of, so with me, it was, I think the fact that it took a year, I reckon if I had went into the court, it would have been a nasty experience. If they agreed for us to go in, I'm not sure how fast they do it in every country is different, but even if they do it fast, based on my experience, I would encourage people to try to wait a year because the anger kind of dissipates and it's different because you're just working on anger when at the start. So, and it's weird how I see so many good people and they're only allowed to have their child like one day a week. It's so sad. But society, I mean, if you just look at what's going on in the world, it's organized for turmoil and it's organized. They know that it's better to have both parents. If they break up, that happens. Everyone goes through how many relationships before they get married. So, it's a
Yeah.
case. Yeah, so just kind of think it through and don't let the anger get to you because if even in a court, like anytime I'm talking to people, I'm just saying keep your calm because they're going to say things. The worst thing is usually people have people representing them. And the lawyer, unfortunately, he's just having billable hours. He pretends he's your friend. They're not your friend. You might get maybe 1% might be friendly and would be your friend, but they're not. They're looking at their billable hours. So they're trying to find the nastiest stuff that you can have on that person. So then they throw that. So what happens when you throw dirt? Dirt gets thrown back at you. And you're on a vicious circle, and the two solicitors are just laughing and they're counting, they're looking at their bank balance. And it's like, if you can think of it like that, that's what it is. It's a game. I've heard of people fighting over simple things, because they try to split the assets and everything. And it's like, don't go there, try to be mature about it. And like, why give a stranger your money? Why open up about deep things that should nobody, not only the judge shouldn't be hearing it, about solicitors and everything. It gets so nasty. And all you have to do is go, who's this going to serve? We're both, it's like I say, you're washing your laundry in public.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? So I know it's hard, but the best way is actually to try to agree to these things prior to it happening, even if you're not planning on having kids, because even if they have a divorce, there's people trying to get the house, and I see it the whole time.
Right.
Everybody's trying to get the better of the other person.
Right. 100%. And that's where a lot of it comes from because it all, at least in the United States, it really does all boil down to money. And the sort of the prenup, the idea there that you would sign something early on when you decide to have a child, that's great, and that's what's best for the child. But this is so commonplace and well known in our country that I can't imagine a single woman out there signing that because she knows she'll do better if things fall apart. And so it only helps the man in the situation, not the woman at all. Because, when you get to a divorce in the United States, the woman gets everything right off the bat. And the man has to fight for everything, including his life. So, again, great idea, great for the kid, but that's not what runs the whole thing. When you are, going into court like that and you're dealing with this in your country, um, the I guess two questions: is the man automatically responsible for paying for the woman's legal fees? And then number two, how do you guys handle the child support situation?
I'm not sure about the legal fees because I didn't have that situation. I had it where I provided the solicitor and we both used them because we were okay at that stage.
Yeah,
Regarding the child support, it's usually a case of how much each is similar to a lot of how much each is earning, and then kind of okay, you have to give X amount per month, and that's the way it's done. It's kind of agreed, but in a lot of cases, I mean, I've seen it in Poland with people that I know. The woman done way better than the man. And yeah, a lot of times financially, I mean, I watch a lot of stuff about the States and I just shake my head. I go, the way that they do it, it's like, yeah, you're working for the rest of your life to provide a lifestyle for another person. And especially if someone new comes into it, it's like that should change the situation, but it doesn't,
right.
so yeah, and like regarding, what you said, yeah, a woman will never sign it, but that's if you don't have a child and they want a child and then you're thinking of a child, that's when you can actually have, hey, this is what I want. And then if they don't, if they're really going no way, that's a warning sign for me. That's
There you
like
go. Yeah.
it's serious. It's not saying I don't trust you. It's like, hey, I want to make sure that because the sad part is if a woman goes away and has an affair, and then you have to pay her, and then they get your child for 90% of the time. Like it should be the opposite. She should have to pay you. She's the one that, and I know men do the same and everything, but in a lot of cases, that's what's happened
Mhm.
and try to get it like that. I know it's a hard one, but the main thing is kind of not to lose the plot. Like if you can maintain your composure in a court as well, and just prepare yourself. So I would say to people is because I know there's people going through this constantly. Have a file. Like sometimes people are passing their onto the solicitor saying he's got all my businesses, all my accountants and everything. Nobody has ever had my back as good as I have my own back. And
Yeah.
just remember that. You think that they're in your corner. They are not in your corner. When you run out of money, you'll see them running for the hills. They're not there to say, "Hey, I know it'll come right and you sort me out." No, they're gone. So,
Right.
and just how they, like every court case, I mean, I mentioned it a lot. Every court case I won because I had big ones and it was me paying real attention. And I go, like one court case was with a construction company that was building the apartments for us, and they were trying to take the development from us, and it took over 2 years. And what happened is, I was looking, they were on about documents, and is that your signature? Is that your signature? And when I went up, I put a line through my zeros. And I said, I don't know, it looks like my signature. But I said, that's not, because I said I put a zero, and I was able to open the pages back. And it was like simple thing. And another thing, they pretended they had an original documentation. I said, that's a colored scan. That's not original. And you just see their faces. And it was like, there's no way the solicitor would have got that. Other times in the criminal case, it was things that they had said. And I just write a piece of paper and hand it, because for the criminal, like I wasn't representing myself because that's a different level. I'd
Right.
write something, I'd say, or I'd whisper, and I caught him out. At one stage, I honestly thought I was going to lose, because I could see the judge was against me. She was just believing everything she had. And it went on about, I don't know, maybe 10 times in course just for this case. And the people that had taken it, what, just to give a quick synopsis of what happened, we had a
Sure.
tenement building, and as I ran out of money, I couldn't pay for all the different things. And there was when we bought it, loads of people weren't paying. So the way it works in Poland is, if they don't pay you, you can get eviction, but the city is to provide accommodation, which I'm for. I'm for nobody to be thrown out in the street. That's not a thing that I agree with. I think nobody should be on the street. So the city then is supposed to provide accommodation for the people. And they say they don't have it, but then they're supposed to pay you, and they don't. And then you have to sue the city. And I had with another guy, we had two tenement buildings, one at I think 11 or 12, another at about 13 or 14. And we had a lot that weren't paying. And when we started kind of creating the court cases to get the money we were due, they started attacking us. I had the rubbish police, I call them. I know they come along and, oh, there's rubbish there, there's a big fine. Technical inspectors, they just attacked me in every direction to destroy me. And like I was going through the other stuff as well, but this one didn't have a mortgage on it, so we were trying to keep this floating. And in the end, we couldn't pay for the water. So if people aren't paying you for the water, how can you pay for the water? They came left, but three didn't. Everybody left except for three people. And then they went to the prosecutor and to the detectives, and then kind of took a case against me, and that's what it was. And at one stage, they weren't even turning up on in the court. In the end, they turned up. The old judge allowed each one to be stating their claim, while the other two were next to them. And I was like, how is this allowed? So you just copy the lies of the other person. But because they were making lots of mistakes, and I caught them out each time, and the judge started screaming at him. She realized it, but before that, I was like, I was probably getting locked up, and I was like, this is insane. They said I intentionally done it. I turned off the water on purpose to empty the building. That's what they were claiming, and I would never do something like that. And she started screaming at him, and then eventually I won. But what happened is, there was another case. It went to the higher case. The prosecutor went to the higher case, and my solicitor said, "What are you doing? You know that he's innocent." Oh, we always do that. It was like, you. So then I have to go to the next level. So I went into the judge, and they didn't bring the translator. So, and because like I can speak Polish, but I'm not fluent. But I mean, for legal terms, I'm not going to trust my level of knowledge for that. Like I needed a translator. So they forgot the translator. So the judge started talking English. She says, "Look, I'm not supposed to talk in English. The way this one's going to work, I review everything, I bring in, we discuss everything, and then I make a decision within an hour." And I was like, okay, Grant. And I actually thought this lady's very nice. And the solicitor said, oh, she's new. So she was happy as well. And I don't know, was it a month later? I came back, and the solicitor's talking to me, and she's like, she's going, I don't know how's this going to go. She says she's locking up everyone. She's making a name for herself. And I just went into panic, like, yeah, like you think this is just, foregone conclusion. And I went in there, and this was a stage where I was after becoming a competent speaker, and she said a few things, and then I went to talk, and my voice I went back to Mr. Bean, like I was just thankfully she voted in my favor. But I mean, my life could have changed based on that. And even in the prior cases, when I was going through like 8 or 10 different in the same case, there was different prosecutors each time. And one time the guy was fast asleep. And I'm looking at this, I was like, this is my life on the line. They don't care about anything. I wanted to just go over and give him a punch to the head. I was like, what's going on here? Your man's fast asleep during a case. And they had about six or five different prosecutors coming in, so like I've realized that then the whole legal system, for no matter what, people don't realize how bad it is till you're actually in it. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's for divorce cases as well. Thankfully, we didn't have any problems, but I've seen cases where you can see that they're on the favor of one side
Yeah.
and you don't even know the agreements between solicitors. Because I've even heard of cases where solicitors agree everything between themselves and they just drag it out. They're all in their own little boys' club. And just to be aware of that. It's a, try to think of it going, am I best served by doing this? And try, even if you've got a mutual friend, try to get somebody that's going to kind of look at it and go, what's the best for all parties? Instead of each one trying to strip the other one bare and think that they've won, because both walk away hurt.
Yeah. I feel for you. That's not what you want to hear walking into a courtroom. She's locking everybody up, trying to make a name for herself.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not what you want to hear. Oh my gosh. Man, yeah, you've been through it, brother. I understand. Now in the United States, the judges are actually kind of in on it. It's become very common knowledge over the last couple of years that I mean they get a commission off of child support and things like that. Is that the case over there?
I've heard that that's an international thing.
It is.
It's very hard because they're obviously it's the boys' club. They're not going to tell you. But I've even heard that even my solicitor would get money in a case like that as well. So it's like they're all included. So they're all part of the game, but you're outside of the conversation.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, at least I know it's not just us having to
And
deal with it.
and because I always like to look at the positive side of things, I was like, how are they doing this to me that they've taken everything? Everything was fraudulent. Like with the Irish case, that was in the High Court. They had an affidavit stating that I done this, and that's what they were claiming. I didn't even know what an affidavit it was. So for those that might have been like me, it's the sworn statement that they made, and then I have to give my sworn statement, and I had them on some. I think I had 43 points, and I had that the bank had 20 different one signature with 20 different names. So the bank had
Wow.
all these, yeah. I had that they had given a write-off to a billionaire, but they wouldn't give me 20 grand off, and they came after they sold the property for less than I had an offer for because I wanted full and final settlement. I had a load of different things. And I saw so much fraud in Ireland. Like there was one person, they said, we got KPMG, we were overcharged 15,000 euro. And the judge said, when was that? 2 years ago, bang, ruled in favor of the bank plus interest plus penalties. And it's not like you have plaintiff defendant. In Ireland, in the High Court, you have 100, 150 people, all barristers. They're the high end guys. They're the guys that they could be 10K a day kind of stuff. Most people weren't even turning up. I was representing myself. And to be honest, I was destroying the barrister, and they were so sneaky. At one stage, he even told me, go to a different room, that the case was somewhere else. And I don't trust him. He was lying because if I didn't turn up, I would have lost. I mean, he should have lost his license for doing something like that.
Hmm.
And when the case actually happened, it took me 8 times. And the way that that was done, I was like, no one was winning. I saw 100% fraud in the courts. I've seen it in Poland, I've seen it there, and then I pay attention to it. So I know I'm kind of going around the long way.
It's all
I
right.
said, how are they allowed to do this? And I started learning sovereignty, kind of common law, natural law, and through that, I was like, okay, how are they able to do this? And I kind of learned it's all with the signature. It's like if you take anything from this, what I would say is learn these things. It's the most powerful thing I've ever learned in my life. Because even if you look at, say, in the States or in Poland, jaywalking, I get it. If I walk out in front of a car and the car has to jam on the brakes and everything. But if I'm at a junction, there's no cars coming and they expect me to wait for 5 minutes. Like Ireland and England just cross the road. And I don't see anyone getting knocked down. But whereas in Poland, because people are conditioned, green man, walk, they are not looking. And when the side street has their allowed drive, I see so many accidents because they've conditioned people to comply. And if you look at just say jaywalking, you say who's the injured party? there's no injured party.
Yeah, I
If,
mean
same with
nobody unless
speeding.
you
I
get
mean,
hit.
speeding, if it's dangerous, but sometimes like you're doing like 5 miles over the limit or something like that, they're out with their speed gun and they're trying to, and it's like, it's all a commercial issue. Whereas if you have a criminal thing that needs to be resolved, oh, we've no police officers. The same in Poland. I mean, I've had that, like the few things. At one time I had a car that was broken into, and basically I was waiting and waiting 2 hours. I was waiting from, and then they said, come down to the police station. I went down and they said, we can't do nothing because you moved the car. And I was like, and I got caught for speeding about a month after that, and I vented on the police officer. I said, "You've got hundreds of police officers to stop people for speeding," and he just said, "I know," and he let me off. So I was like,
He felt bad for you.
he did. He saw the rage in me. Yeah, but it's kind of learn your signature because even if you do speeding or whatever, I mean, if there's dangerous driving, you definitely need a fine for that. If you're speeding or if you're on your phone, yeah, we have to call safety. But the thing is, everything, even anything they're doing with you, it's always about the signature. They're always asking you to sign it. And if you kind of look at it, it's like all our names. If they're writing to me or writing to you, it's all capitals. Mr. Rory, me, Mr. Roy Collin. That's not you, that's the corporate entity. And it might sound crazy and it's too deep to go into, but please research it. Just start looking. I've got a few shows on it. You just type, UCC or common law, and all the episodes will come up and you will learn the power. I've had cases where I've had bailiffs trying to come after me, got them to back off with GDPR, the data breach data.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've got to be called into court. I got him to back off. I said, "You're writing to the wrong person. That's not me." I got detectives calling me in for as a witness, which they done previously, and I learned my lesson from that. They pretend you're your buddies and they just want you to hang yourself. Basically, they're getting you to write all the stuff and then they use it against you. And I was like, "No, that's not happening." And I even wrote to them, and I thought they're going to call. I was over 2 years ago, never came after me again. So I'm not wrong in it. And how I learned this actually, and she just recently passed, unfortunately, BB Backus. She was in Florida and she was doing real estate. And this is going back maybe, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, maybe even more. And there was grants for the underprivileged for that want to get into real estate. And the city started being fraudulent, not giving it to him, and she caught him out on it. And they locked her up. They gave her jail, and she lost it. She got 8 years in jail when she had kids, and she spent her time learning how, and she started. That was her mission to fight. How was I locked up on a fraud case? That I exposed fraud, and I mean I know it myself because when I started, going after the city, I was attacked in all the different directions, and even now there's so many things I know that I'm exposed about, and I would love to go down to the police station and report everything that I know is going on, but they're not protecting me. They're gonna take me out the way because I know too much. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of choose your battles. And but with this, even when it's electricity bills, utility bills, or if there's, you know, debt collection, there's ways like a lot of people are in credit card debt and everything. There's ways that you can get them to back off. It's like they're
Wow.
not allowed to do what they can. And all I say is just make it a pet project. Don't spend so much time because it gets that. But there's a few very good books that you can read. Like I have a weekly guy, Peter Wilson. There's another guy, Peter Stone. They're just incredible. I'm like learning constantly, and they're going into courts and they're winning cases. Like if we look at the opposite side of the spectrum, I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, how can we win? I've had a guy, Scott Shara, on my show, and basically his daughter was murdered in the hospitals. They put a DNR, do not resuscitate, and they had a landmark case just last week that I finished where they basically had a jury trial and they lost, and 100% the hospital was guilty for what they did. You know what they said? A judge can actually put a DNR even if the parents don't want it. Can you believe that? So yeah, exactly. And
What?
yeah, yes, exactly. So I'm going to get him back, not to go deep into that, but I saw his email that he went out and explained exactly, and he had videos. He was on Fox News as well on the thing. I've been covering him since it started, but it's like you're not safe in a courtroom, so don't go in there. Some people are going in there and they're going, prove you've jurisdiction over me, and they're just locked up. Don't go in there. Don't go in there. I
Wow.
guarantee you, 95, maybe more, they're talking to the corporate entity. And that's why they can take all the money. That's why they can empty your account and everything. So don't let them do that. So I always say I'm the living soul. Every time I sign something now, I put LS after it, living soul. And people might think that's crazy. I had a case with them properties that we had, the tenement buildings. After I went through everything, the city came after me for it was like about 8,000 for refuse. And I said, we never used that. We had an alcohol shop that actually had the big bin, and the three people that were left that were there for a few years started were using. So it doesn't matter, you still have to pay us. And I was like, no. And they wanted me to sign the document, and they had like good cop, bad cop inside in the city office. And I just got up and I walked out because I've learned I'm not giving anyone respect when they don't respect me. And they kept writing, and then I'd write back using my knowledge, and then it would change to somebody else. And then somebody, I went through over 10 people. In the end, they settled for like about $1,000. I never agreed to it. So it went from 8,000 to 1,000 just based on me going, hey, provide the invoices, provide the information, provide the contract, all this stuff. They couldn't. They could never give the information. So, and I
Wow.
know that I could actually go take a court case against them for the amount of time I've lost. But based on my experience of being in court, and this is with a lot of things I've done, it's like you're going into the bad boys club and you're trying to fight them. So sometimes you choose your battles, but don't get them that they're taking everything from you, and don't go into the room. So if it's regarding debt collection, you can use data protection. I'm not sure the way, I think you've got some sort of data protection in the States in Europe's GDPR. So just find out what rights you've got, and just there's a load of people doing this. Just study someone and make sure they're getting the results, because there's a lot of charlatans, just like in every single thing as well out there. There's people charging a lot of money. But my experience with all the people that I get on, they're giving so many resources free. And it's like one guy now, the Peter, he's like, if you go deeper, it's like 50 a month for his all the stuff that he's offering. But he has so many things. He has so many courses free that he could charge thousands for. And when I see that, I know these guys are coming from the heart instead of the people pretending to help you, because you can never claim, I could never say to you, I can get you off, I can make sure you don't do this, because then I'm making myself liable. So most of the people, they're just telling people what to do, but they're not taking responsibility. And it's very hard to say, but I can guide you and say, no, this is the way we do it, give you templates. And that's why a lot of them are doing it. And it's like, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but it's kind of like a passion project. No, it's like when I get a letter, no, it kind of like they stop. The city start. There was a time I'd get a letter every week from them. I haven't got that for years. They just stopped. They can't beat me. And it's like the other thing is like it's have power within, because like when you were born free, and yet a government or a city think they can control you and tell you what to do and push you. I mean, obviously don't commit a crime. But they have no right to tell you what to do. They're supposed to be representing us and all over the world. I mean, we cover international politics on this. Every single, there's a handful might be running okay. Every single one has Muppets running the country. And like Ireland, I mean, the way, like you've got the Democrats, Republican, one hates the other. In Ireland, we had the left and right. It was Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and they are together for over 10 years, and they have destroyed the country. So it doesn't matter. As somebody says, it's the same, it's the same cheek of it's a cheek of the same ass, like, or some people say the bird, like, so don't think that they're going to serve you. But like, I don't even vote, because if I vote, I'm giving them the power to control me. And I go, I never signed that. I never agreed to that. Because
Yeah.
everything is trickery with them. And I remember when I saying that first, there was a lot of people go, I'm seeing more and more people saying the same thing now. There's a lot of people going, like, how can a city actually, if you're voting for a mayor, if you don't vote, like you go, you can't put it, because it's all about acts and mandates. There's trickery in the words. Just like you have to learn. Like I got Black Laws Dictionary, and even with that, there's like I don't know, is it 12 or 14 different words? There could be more. But apparently, after version 6, it was being watered down. So you don't even have the same. So you have to use 6 or before it to get the thing. And even things like mandate. A mandate doesn't mean that they actually can make you do it. Everything is tricks with words, and it might sound a bit hairy fairy. Just start looking at it. Start listening to a few shows on that. Just kind of, because what's the most important thing? Even with children, they go, you have to call them properly, just because sometimes they try to take your children off you. There's people that are studying this, they're getting them back. Because unfortunately, and I like even in the UK and everything, the protective services aren't looking after the children. They're putting them in the wrong places with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure they don't even go into a courtroom. And so just
Right.
it's it's one that I would say just get a book and just casually listen to a podcast and just slowly, because once you know it, you have that. I mean, I have a notebook there of all, and I just keep writing down things. I mean, I'm planning on doing a course, not writing a book and stuff like that on that. And it's just like, okay, it's simplified because there's a load of stuff that I got at the start. I got a lot of books, and I was like, it was like crypto. I was like, well, I don't get it. Some people just can't explain, and you have to simplify it. And so I would say just put your toe in the water, just start. You won't regret it. It's the best thing that you'll ever learn.
Yeah. Well, and a great way to start doing that, honestly, is to listen to your podcast, Awakenings, because this is the type of stuff you talk about there, all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I've had a chance to listen to a bunch of your episodes on that one. Now, with everything that you've been through in your life, that's obviously where Awakenings comes from, right? Is all the stuff you've personally been through. Because I mean, you carry a lot of angst into that program. You're not calm about something if you disagree with it, on your program. You're like, hey, listen to this. This doesn't make any sense. Explain this to me. I love it. That's one of the reasons why. I mean, I'm a listener to that program.
Brilliant. Yeah.
But as you do that, though, it seems like also nothing is off limits for you. I mean, if there's corruption someplace, wherever it is, you go find it. Um, what is your purpose with that particular program? With everything you've been saying so far today?
How we stop what's going on is with knowledge. And unfortunately, you just assume because you know everybody knows. The way the algorithms work is I will have a totally different feed from you or from someone else, and it just reinforces your belief system. Hence why a lot of people are bouncing off each other because they're just being reinforced with the information. The way I do it is I try to simplify it, but also not in an aggressive way. I have friends that are jabbed to the hilt. I have friends that think they're contratrails. I have friends that think man has been on the moon. And everyone has their own belief, and we can laugh and joke about it. And I think that's the most important thing. Instead of I'm right, you're wrong. I'm open to comments. I mean, most of the things, they're just people saying, put on your tinfoil hat and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people actually they start kind of understanding it and thanking you and going, I didn't know that. And a lot of the stuff that we cover as well is health stuff, like on products and things like that, because it's just kind of what things to take. Like, I mean, there's so many diseases now that are rampant, and that's all orchestrated. And people might think, oh, put on your hat. It's like, I know it is, but I'm giving things that what you can do. And it's like, you just look after like, once you start looking after yourself, then people are kind of going, I don't have any medications in the house. Like, I'll be 53 this year. It's like most people that I met, like, especially in the States, I mean, I think a lot of people, even a big cupboard, like, I'd go to events and people have big bags of medication. And you're going, what? And just learn that they all have side effects. There's frequencies and everything. Most things can be done naturally.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like, don't trust the judge. Don't trust the guy with the white coat. Look at alternatives. I'm not saying there's not times that you need it. If you get hit by the bus in the morning, you don't want a guy doing acupuncture on you. You want somebody that can put you together and do all the stuff.
Yep. And we lost you just for a minute. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but we'll give it a shout.
Whereas a lot of people, they're just doing what they're told. If like we even last week we done a show that 75% of people will go out in nature if they're told by their doctor. I mean, if their doctor doesn't tell them to do it, they don't do it. It's like you'd be surprised how much people just give their authority to someone else. It's same in court and same with your health. Like, look within. What's serving me? Hey, have you got a microwave? Maybe research what they do to the food. Does it actually do something good to the food? And if you learn it, just get rid of it. Like, I tell people how dangerous they are. They were banned in Russia, I don't know, it was in 71 or something like that. And it basically vibrates the food. It takes the goodness out of the food, but yet people will still do it. And if you learn that, don't blame me. Just go and start researching it. And then it's on you if you start nuking, I call it nuking your food. When I was working in Ireland, I used to live on nuked food because I was working hard. And a guy came in one day, he was a consultant, and he was laughing at me because he lived down the road. And he came in and he got a black marker and he started writing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on the food I was eating. And I mean, like, I cringe at looking at the old me with what I do. But it's like when we learn something, it's like, drinking sodas and stuff like that, going to fast food restaurants, when you know that it's not good for you. Like if a bear doesn't eat a burger from a McDonald's or a Fox or something, there's something wrong. What I actually do is I do an ant test. Even with apples, sometimes you think, oh, a lot of there's so much stuff that's modified. I throw it out in the garden, and if I see the ants eating it, I'm happy.
Wow.
Or the birds taking it away. A
Right.
lot of the times, they're simple little tests. But the thing is, when you learn these different things, same with the shampoos and all the different toxins, like underarm deodorants, I stopped using that. I stopped using aftershaves. I realized they were all toxic. Like a lot of women, they get breast cancer because they're blocking the pores with this toxic stuff. Nobody knows these things. They know. But once
Yeah.
you learn, okay, no, I stopped doing that. The floors, I mean, a lot of dogs, they get cancers because the floor products that we use is cancerous. I have natural stuff. Yeah. Like, most people don't even think of these things. Just slowly, don't overwhelm yourself. But I cover a load of these things as well, just to kind of go, all right, we're being attacked left, right, and center. What can I do? And I think my main purpose is kind of knowledge. And even if you know what's going on, because a lot of times people think we can't do nothing, but you can. If you see something happening in the school, if they're pushing some agenda or something, just go in there, say no, and talk to somebody else. If they're putting like towers, like we know the frequencies are dead, we know what they do. Yet people just kind of assume this is okay. It's not okay. And once you know something is right, I like irrespective of your belief system of what I'm saying there now, because some people will be 100% on board what I'm saying, others will think, this guy is wacky, right? All I say is go away and research and don't go to ChatGPT and go, hey, is this safe? Because see who owns the program, because it will give you the answer that you want, or it'll push an agenda. I have seen that so many times. Loads of times the AI will not answer me. So
Hmm.
no,
Yeah.
very few now are doing a Google search, and I even use Brave, like use Brave and do different ones. But even go and get books. Older books are better. And just get into different groups that start sharing stuff and just be curious about everything. And when you know how to do it, if you're say doing all the health products, not having tax, you're going to be healthier. You're not going to be sick all the time. Because most of the time, they say, oh, I got a flu and it's contagious and everything. That's kind of a lie as well, because it's toxins you're getting out of your body. They done experiments where they were trying to give people the flu and they couldn't. They were injecting it into them, they were coughing into their faces and everything, and they couldn't. I've had doctors on talking about this. So it's like a lot of the time, say if I took my son, we stopped doing it. I like going to the swimming pool with my son, but they have chlorine. And we get ill after it because I've seen tests where people have the cups of water and they get the thing that show yellow with the chlorine. Your man has his hand in the other one. And then he takes his hand out and he puts the product so it should go yellow and it doesn't. He says it's after going into me. So that means when you're in the swimming pool, it's going into you. So then you're getting a nose and people say, oh, you got that because your hair was wet and you drove and you shouldn't have went out when you were wet. It's not. It's the toxins coming out of your body. And like this one book, What Really Makes You Ill, the guy was she was an accountant, he was an electrician. They spent 10 years writing this. Nobody could debunk what they said. They talk about it's like over 700 pages. And it's like sometimes we go, I don't want to know about that. But do you want to live longer and healthier? And the only way you're going to do that is look after yourself. Not the
Right.
guy that's getting the kickback for prescribing something for you.
Right.
It's not. It's you. You have to look at, and then you get into a circle. I mean, I've got people. If something pops, because there's always you're getting curveballs in life with every kind of healthy. I've got a circle that I just make a phone call or I write to them, and they'll tell me, "Hey, try this, try that, try this." So that's what you do. You start getting the right circle. And that's the same in anything. Like if you've got a circle of people that are bitter with the relationships, you're going to be bitter. If you've got a people, talking, gossiping all the time, you're going to be gossiping. So just choose the people you're hanging around with. If they're looking on the positivity, if they're looking on natural health and stuff like that, you get tips, and then you start saying, "Oh, it's been a while since I was sick."
Yeah. No, I love what you're saying because it's, be your own advocate. Don't trust
Yeah.
somebody else to take care of you. No one's going to take care of you like you can. And so whatever you're being told, at least question it. And there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. But I mean, there's still a ton of blowback when you start to question things. People don't like to be questioned, on what they want their agenda to be. So as soon as you start questioning everything, then you're a threat to the,
Like I'll tell you about censorship because
yeah.
like you hear some people saying, "Oh, I was removed." You see the big boys, and I think there's a lot of kind of plants as well. They're trying to pretend people are on your side and they're not. They're, controlled opposition, I call them.
Hmm.
Facebook, I got shadow banned. One of the guys that used to support me on a lot went in and he said, I knew I'd give you a thumbs up on one of this. And he went back he used to give me a thumbs up on everything. He went back, everything was removed. Today, I saw a nice comment on one of the posts from the podcast on LinkedIn. And I went to I could read it from the thing, but I went in to look at the post and just see what kind of engagement all that. It was removed. They removed it. I've been kicked off Linktree. my awakening was removed from YouTube. I, every single thing. And it's like, you don't get to prove why, like a load of the stuff I was saying 4 or 5 years ago comes, yeah, it's true now. Everyone's coming out explaining exactly what was true. And, but you're still removed. I had uh, TikTok removed. They're really censoring, heavily censoring stuff. Like say 15-minute cities. I presume you've heard of the 15-minute cities. Like that's common knowledge. That's shown. I got removed for talking about that on the tracking of the cars. They removed the post. So one of my channels, I had over 400,000 views on it, 10,000 followers, just removed it. And so then I set up another one and I kept looking for my dad and eventually they just gave it back to me. But then sometimes I put out something and it's like zero views, whereas you could get 800 or something on some other one. So it's like, I don't let it get to me. It's just kind of like, all right, it is what it is. And
Right.
I'm So, like, I'm because of all the censorship, I don't let it get to me. So even with when my YouTube was taken off, what I did is I took a screenshot and I posted it on the different things, and my BitChute went up. So I'm on BitChute and Rumble as well. So it's like use it for them. What I would say is a lot of the times there's a lot of people fighting the fight, I call it, and they're attacked from all directions. And unfortunately, even with podcasters, I've done, we did maybe 6 people sometimes doing the live podcast and have a guest on, and there's a few of them they went, nah, I can't take this no more. They just said, nah, giving it up because of all the abuse and everything.
Yeah.
And with Reddit recently, I think it was in Zurich. I forget the thing I mentioned it on my show actually this week. So it's just gone out, but they had bots going in engaging and they got more engagement than normal. So they had bots going into a channel. That's everywhere. There's loads of bots. So sometimes you're engaging with a bot. And even if you're not, I call them Billy No Mates. Because if somebody is there and they're spending their efforts writing nasty, you might as well talk to the wall because you will never beat them. So that's the first thing I've learned. And I'm like obviously through the life that I've been, I've thick skin anyway. So that's like chicken feed to me when someone's writing nasty comments. I'll do a few things. If it's funny, I leave it there. If it's not too nasty, I leave it there. I'll delete it or I'll report it, but I don't engage
Yeah.
because it's either a bot or it's somebody that's mentally suffering. There's something seriously wrong. And even if you start looking at their profile, 20 friends or something like that, or it's just, or they don't have their picture, you just see no picture. That's either a bot or it's just somebody that's just out, they're keyboard warriors.
Right.
And nobody would say what they would to your face that they do on social media because you just knock them out. You wouldn't tolerate that. But unfortunately, they do. So don't give them the power. It's the same thing like the court and like everything. Don't give them the power. And on social media, don't give them the power. You keep the power yourself, laugh at it, and just move on. And what I would say to people as well is whether it's a podcaster or whether someone's blogging or whatever they're doing with the fight, you will get so much support and loving comments. Make a note of that, write it down, have a book. And when you get, because it does, sometimes you get something that's like, ooh, that's nasty. Just look at the nice ones. Look, spend your effort just reading the 99% of people that love what you're doing and don't give the energy to the negativity because that's
Yeah.
what society is. If you look at X, everyone's saying X is great, X is freedom. That's the most negative platform I've ever seen. Every time I go into it to just post it. It's just negative stuff. I don't even want to see this stuff. It's just pushing all this stuff. I like looking at comedians. It doesn't show any comedians to me. So, just don't give it the energy. And if you start finding yourself scrolling through stuff, like that's the beauty of say TikTok. You press the button. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. Because then it's not pushing that. And I start getting a lot of good information from TikTok, stuff I would never have known. There's a load of people actually on the sovereignty and common law and that as well. You can learn things. People are telling you how to do trusts and protect your property and all that. So when something isn't serving you, so for example, my phone, I removed on my, I mean, obviously if I need to access it, I access it on the computer. I removed Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X. That's just like, because what happens is you just get scrolling and your time is gone. Your time is too valuable. Don't give it and don't engage with the negative people.
Yeah, I love that. I have a thing that I do. It's just called bless, block, delete. That's it. Bless, block, delete. Bless you, whoever you are. Block you because I don't want to hear from you again. Go at least go make another fake account, and then just delete. Just move on because we've had a lot of hate on this program since we started it. So I'm nowhere near what you have, I'll bet, because I don't get quite as political. But just talking about masculinity and fatherhood has been enough to get us, in shadow banned like crazy and lots of really bad comments and a couple of death threats and some really fun stuff like that. But it's always that kind of thing, man. It really is. So you are so much. I mean, your platform's gigantic, and I mean, so I can only imagine that you have probably rattled a few cages in your time, and I'm not surprised really that they're attacking you.
And I mean, I'm not finished. I'll keep going, but I'm trying to get strategic in everything I'm doing. And then just because it's like I'm peeling off the layers. I'm trying to understand out. Like a lot of times, they kind of believe in karma, so they tell you what they're going to do. And I tell people, I find documents where they say they orchestrated what happened in 2020 from a government website. They say it, but it's so hidden that you won't see it. And when you try to tell people, obviously I tried to post it, it's just removed because they don't want me sharing that. But when you tell people, they don't believe you. But they believe in karma, so they tell you what they're going to do. So just remember that they're telling you what they're going to do. And if you accept it, then it's on you. And that's the way they believe it. So
Yeah,
don't accept anything. And that way they can't have control over you.
yeah. Well, brother, I love it. I love everything you brought to the program today, man. And I really, I appreciate you, being so open, about everything you dealt with your divorce, your son, and your life and stuff like that. It helps other men to hear, other people are not only going through it, but they've come out the other side, and they're sitting here with a smile on their face and they're going, hey, just stop giving away your power because you've made that point a lot, and it's an excellent point. And I think it's really good advice that many, many men need to try to follow a whole lot better. So honestly, brother, I appreciate you coming on, doing everything you have and throwing all this stuff out to everybody. It's been great.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for being here, man. Listen, I want to give you one shot to kind of wrap some things up here too. We talked about a lot, from divorce to, how you handle things to, even the prenup agreement, about the kids, um, government, everything else. Is there anything that I didn't ask you? Is there anything that maybe you want to reinforce a little bit before we leave, or is there maybe one last leave behind you want to make sure you just leave for our listeners? You're talking 85% guys right now. You got fathers, you got husbands on here. Let me just give you the floor for a minute, and whatever you got, however you want to wrap, give these guys one last shot of Roy.
So remember, you can't have two emotions at once. So you're either happy or you're not happy, negative or positive. Find what makes you positive. So, for example, certain music might make you happy, meditation, whatever it is, listening to comedy, being around loved ones. So when you're in that blues period, we all get curveballs. Rarely happens to me now, but I mean, I had it more before. When you kind of find that things are, I'm having a blues day. Don't accept this is a blues day and just have a blues day and keep going because you go down a negative spiral. What you do is what's changed you because you can't have the two emotions. If you're watching a comedian, you start laughing. You're not in the negativity. So find everything, whether you like art, try to get creative, painting, whether it's fishing, golfing, find something that gives you, instead of chugging through life, doesn't have to cost money. Find something that you enjoy, whether it's a walk, whether it's a cycle, find something that lifts your spirit. And when you're in that blues period, let's call it, just do a switch. You can do it like that. It's like saying giving up smoking. You just make a decision, and it's the same thing. You can't have the two emotions. And when you snap out of that, then you start going into the positive road, and you leave behind the negative road. And the more you practice that, the less bad days you'll have.
Love it. Wow, that was a great way to end. I love that. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Master podcast host, Roy, Colin. Roy, thank you so much, man, again, for coming in here, doing what you did. It's been great. And frankly, I can't wait to talk to you again, brother. I hope I can, see you again soon.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it, Rory. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Folks, that's been another episode of the Power Man podcast. And, the reason we bring powerful men like this on here and the reason that we deliver powerful messages like what Roy brought here today is because, we are absolutely positively behind you in your mission, your goal to become a better protector, a better provider, a better leader tomorrow than you are today, to become a better father, a better husband, a better man tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that we want that for you is a lot of what we've talked about today. It's you have value and you've got to look out for yourself. No one's going to protect you like you can. Think, question. You're worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.